Okay, we're at the top of the hour, but we've still got some people logging in, so I'm going to do a little slow roll intro here. My name is Corey Fountain, and I've been with GoldenCare for over 20 years. I'm sure I've spoken with many of you over the years, but we wanted to do this quick webinar today demonstrating quoting and enrolling on our popular OmniFlex short-term care product. OmniFlex underwriting is fast and easy by design, and health interviews are not required. Knowing where those pitfalls are is key to getting your enrollments through fast and easy. I'm pleased to have with me and introduce the newest member of our team here at GoldenCare, Renee Stutes. Renee is heading up our new underwriting concierge service to help you breeze through the underwriting process and close more sales. She's your go-to expert for underwriting questions, and today she has some excellent tips and pointers to help you avoid any underwriting delays. We are so lucky and blessed to have Renee on our team and here to help you close more sales. Renee is going to show you how to avoid the issues that may flag your enrollment for a phone interview and delay the approval. She will also explain a couple areas that may be gray area in completing your enrollment and help clarify. So please feel free to ask questions. That's what we're here for. Renee is the underwriting expert, and she is here to help you. Also, these slides and handouts will be sent to you after the webinar, so you have them as a guide. Renee, welcome to the team and welcome to the webinar. I'm so pleased to introduce you. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Hello, everyone. Let me take a few minutes to give you some insight about who I am. I have a bachelor's in health science. I have a master's in leadership. I've been a professor for many colleges in the area since 2008, teaching subjects like pharmacology, anatomy and physiology, clinical skills, professional development, law and ethics, and those are just to name a few. Most recently, I was program director for an allied health program here in Houston until I moved over to Manhattan Life. I was with Manhattan Life since OmniFlex was just an idea. I served as the underwriting manager for Manhattan for 3 years, starting with Medicare Supplement. OmniFlex has grown into something that I'm so incredibly proud of and passionate about. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to speak with all of you today. We're first going to get into some of the technicalities of the e-app and then into some issues that are prevalent in underwriting. And I hope that you all enjoy this webinar and find it quite informative. So first, we just want to look at the product availability for OmniFlex. OmniFlex is now available in 36 states with many more states to come. Okay, and Corey's going to talk to us a little bit about getting into the e-app and in your agent portal.
Okay, so when you log into producer.manhattanlife, you're going to go to the dashboard, and this is where you're going to land. One note here is on the left, the in-force business agent policy list is an important place for you to know about because once you've submitted an enrollment, the next day, the next business day, it's going to show up in here with the policy status and all the information on the plan. So if you click on in-force business agent policy list, you're going to get this. And if you double click on one of these records here, you will get all of the details of this policy. Everything that's happened, what the status is, you can print the temporary ID card, and most notably down at the bottom, this correspondence tab has all of the documents that were sent out to the client that you can view, and you can print the PDF. So here, down here, we have the policy print. You can view that. It'll come up as a PDF. You can save it and send it to your client. Anything else that's happened on here, a coupon, payment reminder, anything will be down here, as well as the detailed status on where the policy is. So that's an important place to note on the dashboard. Renee, you want to flick it? Okay. So then next on these tabs here at home, your policies are down here too. Quote, let's go to the Access e-app, will get you to this quote. So we can start a quote. There we go. All right, so we're going to enter the zip code. Hit next. enter the date of birth and the gender. And then you have the option to choose the effective date here. We suggest that you kick it out about a week, that you can do whatever you want with the effective date. That's just a suggestion. Give it time to get through underwriting, make sure everything's done. And then down here, dependence is for other plans, so it doesn't really apply to this, so you can just leave that blank. Click on View Products. And then we're going to scroll down to the OmniFlex product. Okay, the first two questions are about a spouse. So if you've got a spouse applying, you would answer yes to these. Otherwise, you'd answer no. First one is the spouse applying. Second one is, do they have a policy? No. Okay, quick quote is if you're just going to do a quick quote and send it over to your client without all of the health questions. So today we're going to do full quote to go through the health questions, but you've got both of those options there. Now on this first round of questions here, this is going to determine whether the client gets full benefits or limited benefits. So you're going to run through these and answer these, and then on the next screen it's going to give you full or limited depending on what you answered here. If you answer yes to any of them, you'll end up with limited benefits. Now, Renee, are there any of these questions here that stand out that you want to make a note about?
So one thing we're going to talk about today is the gray area that's noted in in this section where it says there's three actually gray areas in this section: psychotic disorders, neurological and neuromuscular disorders, and we're going to get into talking about how we define those in underwriting. Otherwise, we're just going to move on to the next page. Oh, no.
Okay.
Also the tobacco question is here as well, which will help determine your rate as well. All right, so after you get to the first page, click Done.
Okay, and then we're on to the quoting. So the quoting works really easy. You just slide the bar up and down to pick the benefit amount that you want. Below is the benefit period, which usually is 360 days, 0-day elimination. Down below, you have the rider. So home healthcare rider comes up, same thing, slider bar to figure out how much you want coverage, benefit period, elimination period. Next one is hospital indemnity benefit rider. Same thing again, slide it up on how many days you want. And then last, we have simple inflation protection. So if you pick the box, the policy has inflation protection. Now we're going to go to begin enrollment. Okay, as soon as you get to begin enrollment, my suggestion is in the upper right, there's a save button. Hit the save button immediately when you get to begin enrollment and just give it your client's name. And the reason for that is if you get called away, if you don't have enough information to finish the enrollment, whatever the case may be, as long as you save it and come back to this screen, up at the top you see the enrollments tab. If you click there, this will be there. You can load it and just pick up where you left off and continue the enrollment. So for sure, hit save as soon as you get to this screen. Now, Renee is just filling out basic information here. Okay, phone number. Okay, now, next, okay, so on the right-hand side here, we have these bars, and she's just done the application screen, and it's turned green. So as you go through the sections of the enrollment, all the bars will turn green. Once all the bars are green, you'll be able to submit the enrollment. If any of them are gray, it means that you've missed something and you need to go back to that gray box and it'll give you an indicator on which part of it that you missed. So, so just know on the right-hand side, everything needs to be green and then you can submit the enrollment. And then here we have the application questions. And again, Renee, any notes on this page?
Let's see, yes. So we're going to define in just a little bit what cognitive disorder means. That's going to be in this question over here. Let's see. We will get into also how the questions are structured, and we'll talk about how that affects underwriting, because your underwriting criteria is actually in each health question. And I'll break that down for you in just a little bit. So for right now, we're just going to mark no on all of our health questions so we can move on. This question might be important for you too. Currently eligible for Medicaid or early Medicare due to disability. A lot of people miss this part, or disabled. So if they still have the disability that they were able to get the early Medicare for, you're still going to mark yes on that box. And then currently, oh, okay. This one is our medication question. Has any applicant, because there's two applicants that could possibly be on the application. So it asks, has any applicant taken or been prescribed drugs by a medical professional in the last 24 months? So this is very important. You want to make sure you have the medication name. If you can get the prescribed date, even if you can get the year, that's important to establish that time frame, because if you look in the health questions, your time frame is there within the last 24 months, 12 months, currently. So your time frame is going to be important. So let's say they say it was 3 years ago, but they don't know the date. Just put like 02/01 2023. The frequency and dosage isn't as important, except for insulin. Insulin, you would need to put the amount of units. The diagnosis, we're going to get into why it's very important that you put a definitive diagnosis there, so you can avoid the phone call, or your applicant can avoid the phone call to clarify why they're taking the medication. And the onset date is very important, because we need to know how long ago were they diagnosed with that condition. So we'll just say that they're taking aspirin. It was prescribed 01/01, we'll say 2020, and they're just taking it once a day for, let's see, we'll just say they're taking it for AFib. It was just very minor, and it was onset that same day. So this is just, it doesn't have to be completely accurate, just for the demonstration. So in order for this to save, you have to click the plus. Otherwise, you're just going to go on to the next page and it's not going to save. And then you just continue that same process with every medication that you have. And then if you made a mistake and you don't want that one anymore, you would just click the red minus and it'll go away for you.
Excellent. Okay, moving on. First is email consent. So this is just allowing Manhattan Life to email. If you scroll down a little bit, you enter their email address right here, or you can decline to give consent for them to email. They don't email a lot. It's not like they're spamming your client. And then scroll down some more. Okay, and then we get to payment. So payment method, we've got two options. EFT, or if you pull down direct billing. And then we've got billing frequency, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, although monthly is not available for direct billing. So if you select what kind of payment you want and then click configure, it's going to allow you to put in the banking information if it's EFT, or bill me direct, and then when you click save, it says assign to selected product, and you're done with the payment part of it. Okay, so that part is done now. And you see on the right-hand side, the payments turn green. Okay, so down to designate beneficiary. This is not very important. Anything that's left over, if something happens and the client passes, will be passed on to a beneficiary, but it's just whatever's left over, so that's not a huge deal. And then we get down to authorization and certification. So there is no signature required for enrollment for Manhattan Life. You're going to need the mother's maiden name, so make sure you have that when you're doing the enrollment. And then the next part of this is important because it's how the policy is delivered. Some agents prefer it be delivered to them and then they send it to their client, and some would just prefer it be sent directly to the insured. So just make a note that that's where you can select where you want it to go. Okay. Keep going. So on the right, the authorization and certification has turned green as we've finished that. And then you're going to do the agent statement and check the box. And everything's green on the right. Now, if you have to go back and change something, the agent box is going to turn gray again. And you're going to need to go back down and check that box. That's just to verify that you know you made whatever changes to this before you submitted it. So now everything is, oh, we missed agent split. Here is where, if you've got an agent you want to split the commission with, here's where you do it right here. Okay, pretty easy. And that's it. So now we're done and everything's green. We can click next, review it right here, and submit the application. Now, once the application is submitted, you're going to get an email that says, thank you for your enrollment with the details on it right away. And then, like I said before, it's going to show up in your in-force business in one business day. So if you were submitting it right now, in the morning, you'll be able to look in there and see that they've got it, see the application is in, and watch the status on it. So that's all there is to it, to the quote and enrolling. And if you have questions about this, or you get stuck in it, or even with if you're with a client and you're stuck, give us a call. We're more than happy to walk you through this. And we're all available, and we know this pretty well. So don't hesitate to call us if you have any problems with quoting and enrolling. Or if you're first time and you need help the first time that you do a quote and enroll, make sure you get a hold of us, and we're more than happy to help you get through it. So with that, let's move on and go through some of these underwriting questions.
Okay, so once again, welcome everyone. We're going to tackle a crucial concept today, underwriting pitfalls, why they happen, how you can avoid them, so you can streamline your approvals, we can reduce delays. And if you've ever wondered why certain applications trigger a phone health interview or why some get declined, you're in the right place. So underwriting is all about risk assessment. The more precise the information that is received up front, the smoother the process will be. But if you give something like a vague diagnosis, or we're missing medication details, any pending treatments, those often slow things down. So what we're going to do is we're going to break those down. So the first thing that we want to do is look at the structure of the health question. So if you look at the health question, it's asking you the criteria that's looked for in underwriting. So it's asking in question 1, have you ever been, or have you been treated or diagnosed? So this is asking, have you ever been? There's no time frame here. This is an if ever question. So now we're asking, have you been treated ever or diagnosed as having, and then your condition is listed. And then in question 3, it's asking, are you currently? So there's your time frame. A, B, C, D, and E list your criteria. So if they have trouble with their ADLs, are they receiving home health currently? Have they been diagnosed by a medical professional for these conditions? So your time frame, your conditions, and the criteria are all listed right there within the health question. So that's what the underwriter is looking for. Like in question 5, they're looking that within the last 24 months, have they been diagnosed with, received treatment for, or prescribed medication for any of these particular conditions: cancer, leukemia, lymphoma, malignant melanoma, or cancer that spread from its original site. So as long as your applicant can answer no to all of these questions, then you can go on to section 2. If they answer yes to any of these questions, unfortunately, they cannot go on to section 2. They would not be insurable. So that's in part 1. Part 1, if they answer yes, they're not eligible for coverage. That's listed right there on the app. In section 2, same thing. The time frame, the conditions are listed right here. So diagnosed with, received treatment for, or been prescribed medications for. and then your conditions are listed within the questions. So if they were diagnosed and treated for a stroke 5 years ago and they're no longer getting medications for it, that's okay. That's okay. But remember, with this section 2, if they answer yes to these questions, coverage is still available to them at $100 per day max per rider, but they could not get the simple inflation. So not declines, just reduced benefits. They are still going to be eligible for some type of coverage. Phone interviews. No one wants to see that happen. No one wants their client to be subject to a phone interview. So here, what we're seeing with the phone health interviews, why the underwriters are calling, is because they're getting diagnoses like pain, heart, cardiac protection, blood thinner, blood sugar, water pill, and mood, all listed as a diagnosis on the application. So that's what we would say. Those are non-definitive diagnoses, but they may be more of a symptom, or the actually what the drug does, like a blood thinner, or water pill. So when the underwriter sees this, they're wondering, well, why do they need a medication for pain? Why do they need a medication for their heart? Well, why do they need cardiac protection? One thing that is often seen is somebody will put tamoxifen, which is a cancer drug. They're going to list the diagnosis as cancer. So the underwriter, at their discretion, could just go ahead and decline that application. It's denied because they have cancer. So you want to be very clear with something like that, and you could put cancer in 2020, that they're released and recovered, because we're asking if they had active cancer within the last 24 months. So to assist in expediting those applications and distinguish between a symptom and diagnosis are going to be the key here. If they see pain, they're going to think it's due to a neuromuscular condition. So they're going to call the applicant. The diagnosis for that, when they call the applicant, could simply be arthritis, which is fine. But it could also be neuropathy, which would reduce their benefits. It could be knee surgery in 2022 or something like that. Those would be okay. The neuropathy would not, but just something simple as pain, since a lot of the conditions that are underwritten for could have pain as a symptom, they're going to call. If you see that they've put mood on there, that's a symptom of depression, anxiety, bipolar. Could it be schizophrenia? Do they have PTSD? So they want to call for something like that. So they want to make sure we have a definitive diagnosis. One more pitfall that we see with diabetic applicants is they have to have a clear diagnosis for conditions that go along with the diabetes, especially if they concern the heart, kidneys, the eye, and the nerves. So diabetes itself wouldn't be a decline, but if it's anything that has to do with the organs, you definitely want to get a diagnosis so the underwriter doesn't have to call. So here's just something that we would see often. So they have very good. They have Celexa, the year 2021, but here they have carvedilol that they're taking every day as a blood thinner. They have Lasix as fluid, insulin as blood sugar. They have gabapentin as tingling, tamoxifen as cancer. So there's several things that are listed in this example that they would call for. So blood thinner, that's not a definitive diagnosis. That could be used post-stroke or to prevent stroke. So it's better to put something like to prevent, no stroke history, heart attack in 2022, blood clot in 2022. Something like that is more definitive. So the underwriter might suspect just from the blood thinner that they may have a stroke, which we underwrite for, or they see the fluid that could indicate that they have CHF, which is underwritten for. So just be very careful with that. And also the insulin, we're missing the units. There's a threshold for units. Gabapentin and insulin, okay, they're diabetic and they have neuropathy potentially, so they might call. Or then here it is. Here's the example, tamoxifen for cancer. They can decline just based on that because they're taking tamoxifen every day. They're not saying cancer prevention. So those are big red flags to the underwriter. Now this one, This one is where the most declines are seen. And the reason that it's coming from this particular question is because this question is re-asked in every single PHI. So you want to avoid the PHI first and foremost, but you really want to avoid this question. This is where it's coming from. Test, treatment, or surgery that has not been performed, or do you have pending test results? So when the underwriter or the phone health interview would call, they ask this question again. A lot of times the applicants will say, well, yeah, I have an MRI scheduled, or I have a mammogram scheduled. Okay, that's great. If it's a screening test, we want them to do their screening. So a routine screening test would be their mammogram, their bone density scan, any lab work that's just routine. Those things are fine. But if it's a diagnostic test, then that's going to lead to a decline. A lot of times when we pre-qualify an applicant, that question is not listed. So that question is not asked. So we want to make sure that when you're interviewing you do ask, do you have anything that's pending? That's very important because that you will avoid a decline if you ask this question. And if they say, yes, I have something in 3 weeks, well, maybe put off their application for the next 3 weeks until they have their results. This one's not so heavy. Medications that are not provided on the application, but they're sent in later, just an FYI, those underwriters are fast. They are pulling those applications from the system within the first hour or two and working them. So if you left off the meds, they've probably already called your applicant if they noticed anything when they did the pharmaceutical check. So always make sure that you get that med list in ASAP within the first hour or two, because then it's going to be through the system. It could be a decline. They could have already called your applicant. So make sure you send it to the STC underwriting as soon as you realize you've left it off. All right. So let's quickly get into one of the gray areas. Gray area number one we're going to look at is in that first section. That's a cognitive disorder. That could be a decline. So this one's a little tricky because it's more than just regular forgetfulness. So if they just misplace their keys sometimes, or are they forgetting what those keys are for, that's going to be your cognitive impairment. If you see that they use a walker or wheelchair, if they mention they've seen a neurologist or they've had brain scans, they take medication for seizures, Parkinson's, or nerve pain, those would be something that you really want to dig into as far as their cognitive impairment would go. So key takeaway here, though, if you're in doubt, check with your underwriting specialist before you submit. Another gray area is going to be a psychotic disorder. This one's going to be a little harder than just the cognitive. But if they mention that they've had hospitalizations for mental health crisis, or their medication suggests a severe condition, if they're taking antipsychotics, that might be a red flag for you. But it is possible that they could take the antipsychotic for a mood disorder such as bipolar or major depression. So you want to make sure you make that distinction and don't just put mood, put the condition: anxiety, depression, bipolar, PTSD. Make sure you list those and not just put mood disorder. So we need to make sure, do they have mild depression or do they have schizophrenia? So clarity is key. Do they have a history of suicide attempts or self-harm? Those are some things that if they bring that up, you want to note that. You want to dig a little further. So these would be some of the medication clues you would look for. These would be your antipsychotic medications, mood stabilizers for bipolar disorder with psychotic features also. So we know they have bipolar, but they're also taking lithium or Depakote. So those kind of things would be medication cues or clues to kind of hone in and okay, well, what condition do you have? So be a proactive agent, clarify their mental health diagnosis, list their medications and their purpose, flag any cognitive symptoms like paranoia, hallucinations, severe memory loss, and that could indicate also an underlying neurological condition. And again, when in doubt, check with your underwriting specialist before you submit. So if you're a proactive agent, you can prevent declines and delays. So key takeaways there: listen for inconsistencies or unusual thought patterns, observe for signs of paranoia, confusion, or erratic speech. Check their medications carefully. Do they have antipsychotics that could indicate a severe medical or mental health condition? If you notice that their caregiver is heavily involved, ask if the applicant is legally responsible for their own decisions. And again, pre-screen with underwriting to avoid any application issues. Just ask. It's very simple. The final gray area that we're going to touch on today is going to be neurological and neuromuscular diseases like MS, epilepsy, stroke, Huntington's disease, peripheral neuropathy, ALS, myasthenia gravis. These are just some of the most common that you might see. So some physical and mobility red flags that might indicate that your client may be going on there. They mention that they use a walker, a cane, a wheelchair. Those in itself are not declines. We need to know why they need to use those. Are they prescribed by a doctor? Well, why are you using a walker? Why are you using a cane? Why are you in a wheelchair? Those kind of things are very important to note. They describe that they fall frequently. They struggle with balance. If they complain about muscle weakness, they say they have tremors. They have difficulty gripping objects. A lot of this is easier observed if they're actually in your office, but some of these things could be mentioned on the phone as well. Also, if they say that they're taking physical therapy or they're in rehab, but they don't disclose a related condition, dig a little further. Ask if they have a diagnosis. If they say that they're seeing a neurologist, but they don't disclose a diagnosis, that's another red flag. If they mention recent scans, oh, well, I just had an MRI last week on my brain, CT scans, PET scans, if they've had any cognitive or memory tests, those types of things would be a red flag as well. And also if they have any pending diagnostic tests related to balance, memory, or nerve function. So now it may feel like we just ran a marathon, a full marathon, because you've taken in a lot of information, but know that there's a lot of tools that are available to you. The first one is going to be me and the team at GoldenCare. You can use our underwriting concierge service. This is just a sample of what that particular form would look like. Fill it out as best as you can. If clarifying information or more information is needed from you, we will contact you just to get more details. But we will try to go off whatever you send us. We'll try to go off of that and answer you as best as we can. We also provide you an underwriting tip sheet. We have that available for you too. It does, this list will refer to the medication list we've already mentioned to you. It also directs agents to use our OmniFlex health pre-screen form, which that would go to the short-term care underwriting to the underwriters directly. Or also, if you have those questions, you can always reach out to your concierge service for help there. So most of your FAQs that you might have regarding underwriting are going to be listed in that sheet. We also have our OmniFlex Agent Guide. It's there to help you with questions on the e-app, underwriting, processing, and also who to contact. Those are just some of the tools that are available to support you. So feel free to reach out for concerns regarding OmniFlex. We're thrilled to assist you. That's what we're passionate about. Now, I know I've taken up enough of your time, so really quickly, I want to hand it over to Lynn Voss, who's going to give her an opportunity to give you some exciting news. So Lynn, now the floor is yours.
All right. I'm only going to talk for just a little bit, and I just want to say if I can get the words out, sorry. All of the information that you shared, this is not the first time I've sat through a presentation where we're talking about underwriting tips, how to prevent, getting caught or stuck in between a rock and a hard place. It's always so enlightening, and really we're just here to help all of our agents go through the underwriting process as seamlessly and as smoothly as possible to get their client the coverage that they need.
Absolutely.
But we do have exciting news. Manhattan Life just launched an incentive that started on February 24th. So literally this past Monday, this incentive kicked off. It's going to run through the end of April, and it highlights some of their lighthouse products. You see the eligible products there. The first of which here is OmniFlex Short-Term Care. So we have some different incentives based on how many applications or how many issued policies are being sent in. There you see at the top, for applications 1 through 5, you're going to earn $100 for each issued policy. As an extra bonus, agents that submit their very first OmniFlex short-term care application, their very first, they're going to get an additional $100. So for that first issued policy, first-time writers will get $200. And honestly, once you go through this e-application and you realize how easy it is, taking a lot of these tips and strategies in mind as you're going through that, you'll really start to see how likely it is that you're going to be writing and submitting your second, third, fourth, fifth. Here you see applications 6 through 10, or rather issued policies. You're still going to get $100. But for each of those issued policies, your name actually goes in. You get a raffle ticket as well with a chance to win some larger prizes, which you see down below. But GoldenCare, we are so confident that this policy, once you've submitted a couple, it gains momentum. The longer they, or the more you're invested in it, the more you realize how much it can help people and the easier it becomes. So for applications 6 through 10, in addition to that $100 bonus that Manhattan Life will pay, we will also pay $100. And you see it there, in addition to the $100 that Manhattan Life pays. For policies 6 through 10 that are written and placed during the contest period. Again, this goes out until the end of April. And of course, we still want to continue incentivizing agents to continue writing business, continue writing the OmniFlex. So it doesn't end at 10. For 11 and on, 11 plus, we're still going to get your name into the raffle. So you're going to get 2 raffle tickets for each additional policy, issued policy 11 and beyond. Now, I was talking about the grand prize drawing, the raffle. We will have a grand prize drawing, and this is Manhattan Life's own incentive. So they will be drawing prizes, I believe, in the fine print of their incentive. It did say in June, after everything had wrapped up. But they will do a grand prize drawing at the end of the contest. Having accumulated all of these raffle tickets, they will draw out 4 winners. And you see one winner will get $250, another will get $500, another will get $750, and the grand prize winner will get $1,500. And again, these raffle prizes are in addition to the money that you'd earned for writing those issued OmniFlex short-term care policies. That is the bulk of what we're so incredibly excited about. But Manhattan did expand. They're doing more than just OmniFlex. This whole incentive is actually highlighting a couple other plans in their Lighthouse series. So it also includes their Hospital Indemnity Select policy. It includes their Secure Advantage Final Expense. It does put a little extra light and love on the home healthcare Select policy as well. I won't go through line by line with this, but they do pay, obviously there's a first time, a little extra when an agent writes their very first Hospital Indemnity Select or their first final expense application, and the policy is issued and taken. But then they will be paying bonuses for each of those thereafter, written and issued during the contest period. The home health care, you will be getting a raffle ticket per issued policy. And again, all of those raffle tickets go toward a grand prize drawing. Now, for these other Lighthouse series plans, there will be $2,500 of in total prizes that are spread across 5 winners. So each winner drawn will receive $500 each. So this is, again, going on until the end of April. So this really gives you a chance, really gives everyone a chance if they have not taken a look at OmniFlex yet, or if they're just starting to get their toes wet. There's a lot of reasons why short-term care is a booming industry, and it continues to grow, and it's exceeding expectations at every turn. Hopefully we will get quite a few more agents on board, and just the ease of submitting the business, the quickness, how quickly these cases get pulled and processed by the underwriting team at Manhattan Life, and the expediency, it all goes so quickly where coverage is issued and this policy is being sent out. It's really something we hope you'll all take advantage of. So we will send the full incentive flyer, including the extras that GoldenCare will pay. We'll include that in a follow-up email after this presentation. I'm not sure if it'll make it out yet today, but if not, it'll be early tomorrow. And as Corey pointed out in the beginning, we will be sharing copies of these slides as well. Renee, you said it was like running a marathon, and I absolutely agree. So there is a lot of information there. You'll be able to refer back to these slides. And before we get too far, I know I am checking questions that get submitted in the chat as well. And there was one, someone had asked, can the policy be sent to agent and insured? So instead of one or the other, I think they're asking if it's possible to send, to automatically have the policy be sent to both.
So I think it would go to the agent first, and the agent would have to, I don't know how, that's a very interesting ask.
Yeah.
So
no, it's either
right.
or. Yeah.
But the agent can just pull it from their portal from correspondence.
Correct.
So
yeah,
so send it to
that
yeah. That's the easiest fix.
Another question that was submitted is, we have been told that the start date and onset dates for the prescriptions were no longer required.
They're not.
Do you find it better to include that information?
Yes, because that establishes your time frame. Because remember, the time frame is listed within the question, so you want to make sure you get as close as possible. Otherwise, they're going to call. It's not required, but it could result in a phone call to clarify that information.
Okay. Another question is, with past breast cancer, can they be considered if they are still taking a hormone blocking prescription?
Yes, happens all the time. As long as they've been treatment free, as in, they've had their mastectomy, they've had their chemo, they are in remission. As long as they've been in remission for 24 months, they're still on the preventative. You want to make sure you put preventative, and then maybe put a dash, recovered from cancer 2022. Make sure you list that on the application. Otherwise, they're going to call to get more details about that. But yes, if they are only on it now for prevention, then it's okay. If they've been cleared for 2 years, that's fine.
Okay. Another question asks, what about Parkinson's? Is that a knockout?
No. Parkinson's is tricky. Okay. So if they have stages 1 through 3, that's going to fall under tier 2, so they can still get limited benefits. If they have Parkinson's stages 4 or 5, that's the knockout.
Okay, I thought perhaps it's a question. The question mark as the question is typed in. What about Parkinson's? And I think they did mean Parkinson's 1, and I mistook that as
okay.
A shift and a typing mishap. But Parkinson's 1. So yeah,
Parkinson's 1. They can still get reduced benefits.
Good deal.
Yeah.
We had a compliment presented well, and I wholeheartedly agree. That's it for the questions that I have submitted for now.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we've got any other questions, and we had a very good turnout today, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Hopefully you gained a little more insight on the overall underwriting process. We'll be sure to share the recording and slides either later today or tomorrow. And be on the lookout. If you haven't yet, take advantage of our underwriting concierge service and have a chance to work directly with Renee. Her expertise is invaluable and can really help you acclimate to the whole underwriting process with OmniFlex. And pretty soon you're going to be the expert too. So again, thanks everyone for taking time out of your day. Thank you, Corey, for the enrollment, and thank you, Renee, for sharing your insight on the underwriting and some of those tips and tricks.
Yes, thank you all.
Everyone. Yeah, I
Thank
hope
you.
everyone has a great day.
All right, thank you. Bye, everyone.
GoldenCare is always here to serve you with new tools, new products, new ideas, and new innovations, and always the best support in the business to help you succeed. So give us a call at 800-842-7799 and check out our website at www.goldencareagent.com.